Hello and welcome to Knowledge by Nature. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a little peek inside a plants unit study from Common Sense Press. Now, this is something that we have recently started using this spring because I just held on to it thinking that spring was the perfect time to start a study like this. Common Sense Press did send this to me for my honest review, and I have to tell you, we are really enjoying this. Unfortunately, Common Sense Press doesn't have a whole lot available yet. They have their plants unit and they have an oceans unit. As far as like their science unit goes, I really hope that they come out with some more because this is something that works really well with our family. So if that is something that you're interested in, please stick around. All right, well, if this is your first time here, welcome or welcome back. I am a homeschool mom to a soon-to-be fifth grader, and we love all things books, homeschool, and sharing our journey with you. And if that is something that interests you, I would love if you consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. And if you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. So we have used Common Sense Press in the past for our history. We are really enjoying that as well. And along with that, they sent us this plants unit. And like I said, I have had it for quite some time, but I wanted to hold on to it until spring. We are rounding out our fourth grade year, but I definitely think this is something that could be done with multiple ages. And what's really cool is they actually put different levels in there. So whether you have like a little student, a middle student, or an older student, there's like different expectations that you can expect out of that level. So first, let's jump in here to the table of contents. But before I do that, just so you know, there is this small teacher's guide and there is a student material pack. And it's just really thick cardstock that is stapled a couple times with a bunch of sheets that you pull out and use for labs and for things like that. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the table of contents because honestly, most of us want to know what are we going to be covering, right? All right, let's take a peek here. So lesson 1 is your plant basics where we're talking about photosynthesis. Then we move on to respiration and transpiration, plant responses, plant reproduction, a review. Then we move on to plant classification, mosses, ferns, non-flowering seed plants, flowering seed plants, seed roots, stems, flowers, pollination, falling leaves, tree trunks, simple and compound leaves, review and presentation. 18 weeks is how this works. So each lesson is a week. It has a special note over here about the classification of plants. If you're interested in that, hopefully you can pause it right here and take a look at that. Then we go over here to the introduction and how to use this. This is where I was talking about that multi-level approach. So how cute is it that one little sprout here indicates your first level, and they indicate that as a non-reading or early reading student, and this level mainly applies to first and second grade students. Then our sprout begins to grow a little bit, and this is our second level. And so you can maybe expect your student that is still working to be a fluent reader and is primarily designed for third and fourth grade students. And then when we have a full bloom flower, this is our third level or fluent reader, and this level of activities will usually apply to fifth and sixth grade. So this is very family style friendly, right? So you can use this from your first grader all the way to your sixth grader, and really you know your student best on what you would expect them to do, but you can see these little indicators as we go. Within each lesson, we have some vocabulary here, and so it's talking about vocabulary that is introduced into each lesson. It says a new word must be met 15 times or so before it becomes a part of our speaking vocabulary. So use the words frequently as you present and discuss the material. So it gives you little notes about that. Down here on the bottom, it talks about the graphic organizers, which is actually borrowed from Dinah Zeke, which is right here featuring her organizers. So the graphic organizers actually tie in with Dinah Zeke, which is actually part of the Great Science Adventures. That's another curriculum that kind of is very similar to this. And in fact, Common Sense Press on their website actually has some of those available also. but it talks about how they are using her style to make these 3D graphic organizers, and it tells you how to make all these special little folds, which we found to be very easy, basic folds that are not too difficult to do, but really adds to our lab reports and things like that. It says different ways of organizing these things, and then we have different labs. It goes down through here and it tells you all of the materials that are going to be used in each of the labs here. So you in lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, and 12, we have labs. And so far, all of these things have been super duper easy to find. I didn't have to like make a special trip. It was already things I had in my house, which I find super duper helpful. Now I'm sure that as I get going, there may be a few things that I have to get as far as like a plant cutting that will root. Has different things right here, although I think that my pothos plant will root. Yes, ivy stem. So yes, it would. So for the most part, I think I'm going to have everything. If not, I'm going to be able to, modify it for it to work. Additional materials that are needed. So each student will need like some file folders, colored pencils, cardstock, things like that, just to kind of do your labs and other things. It talks about how to use this book, and it is divided into 18 3-day weeks. It says with this schedule, you will be able to complete 2 books a year. Now, I honestly think you can finish this up a little bit quicker, because from what I'm seeing, day 3 can almost be lumped into day 2 a lot of times, or vice versa. It honestly depends on how you want to set up your schedule. So it says day 3, students will have opportunities to explore and further investigate the subject matter covered during the week. So it gives you a few different options that you can choose from, or you can just omit them if you want to, or you can lump them into the other days. It honestly is going to decide on your family and what you guys are feeling about it. Let's go ahead and look at lesson 1 here. So this was plant basics, and we were talking about photosynthesis. This is somewhat of a scripted material. I would say it is scripted. Over here at the very corner, you have a little box that gives you all of your materials. This is all of the materials and your vocabulary words that are going to be for lesson 1, day 1. So you can see that we're going to need a piece of paper, paper towels, a dish, 4 dry beans, water, and index cards. And some of this you can even tweak just a little bit, because I couldn't find my index cards until like week 2, and when I had already found something else that I wanted to do. Again, you have your vocabulary words that you're going to want to talk about often. Bring them up throughout your lessons or while you're working on your labs multiple times. It goes through and it gives you an introduction. What is this book? What are we going to learn about? What is the study of plants called? And here we have our bolded vocabulary word. So I'm going to make sure that I'm bringing up the word botany multiple times if that is something that we haven't been introduced to very long. It has different sections of where you discuss with your students, gently correct any mistakes that they might make for this discussion as you are prompting them to answer these like free-flowing questions that we have through here. Then it tells you when to hand out student page lesson 1, day 1, which would be part of this book right here. Now we've already done lesson 1, so I've already taken it out of the pack, but I will go ahead and show that to you. So here is one of the things that we created, and all of these inserts are the images that was part of our handout for lesson 1. So we talk about the basic traits of these plants. We go in through the order, the things that the plants need, and then we go into our first little fold practice technique, and they are called fast food folds because you have the hamburger, the hot dog, the taco. That was just really fun. She enjoyed that. She liked to make these little folder sections, and then I go ahead and hand out a piece of paper, and we are going to paste these items in there. So it says right here, here is our 3 different prompts for these handouts. So she cuts out all of the pictures and has them available to write and put things into our little report here. Now you can read through all 3 sections here where it says, if you have a beginning one, you might just have them write plant traits on the cover, and then inside cut out the pictures, and that could really be it. They could orally explain each picture. They could color the pictures if they wanted to, however you wanted your student to do it. or you could even do a mix mash of all of these things. So for number 2, you're going to begin the same as we did with number 1, where we are writing plant traits on the cover, like so. Then inside, we're going to write or dictate words about each picture. So example, this is sunlight, or this is water, rooted, or you can design a cover for the half book. If they are an older student, glue the pictures and summarize the information about the common characteristics of each plant. So here you can see we kind of meshed 2 and 3 together. We didn't so much as summarize and make like a big sentence, but we did just do a little key words to go with every one. That day she wasn't feeling like doing the pictures so much, but she did enjoy doing the cover. Now our first lab report was watch a bean sprout. She really enjoys that every lesson there's something hands-on to go with it. I also enjoy it, and I appreciate the ease of the lab as well. It's quick, it's easy, it's really fun. So the first thing that we are doing is we are going to show how plants grow, and we are going to sprout seeds between wet paper towels. Spoiler alert, ours still hasn't sprouted. I don't know what's up with our beans, but they won't sprout. And it's been over a week now, so I don't know if we're not being patient enough, if we're not, I know you've got to like sprinkle them, things like that. So not every single lab has been a success for us, but you know what? That is science, right? It's not always going to be a success, and that is part of it. Now here you can actually make a little lab card with the index cards. But as I mentioned earlier, I couldn't find my index cards until a few weeks later, so I created just a little tab in our 4th grade notebook that says science, and we began writing our lab information into this book. So I honestly don't see why this is a whole lot different than doing the labs. If you would prefer to do the index cards, it tells you how to do that. Like I said, we are just going to put it in our little 4th grade notebook. Everything can be in here, and we're actually kind of liking having it like this. And so here you can see with lab 1, we had where we were doing our bean sprout, and our hypothesis was what's going to happen. And so at that day, she just wasn't really feeling it a whole lot. She wanted to do more of like a drawing. And so she thinks that they will sprout into green with maybe baby beans on them. That's what she thought it might be like. And so she drew the image. Then we checked it 3 days later, and the beans were starting to get darker of color. So you can see that she felt a little bit more like writing that day. Again, if we have a big writing day, I'm fine with her illustrating other days as long as the whole thing is coming across. Then on day 3, we have they're getting darker, and then this week we checked it again and nothing's really happening. They're just wrinkly, and so that's what she put there. Here we put our vocabulary words, and I will show you how we are using this sometimes depending on the lab. So this was lesson 1, and that is all for lesson 1, day 1. Now we would jump over into day 2, where we are talking about photosynthesis. Again, we have all of our information in our little student book here. This time we were creating a photosynthesis book that we used a file folder to cut down. It gives you all the instructions for that. We went through all of these steps. We talked about them. We brought out these different vocabulary words again, and we created our little lab book or photosynthesis book. Again, let's look at the 3 options that it gives us. So for your beginning student, write 1 word about photosynthesis, such as leaf, sunlight, water, releases, something like that. Or you can write 1 to 2 words describing the basics of photosynthesis. And then the 3rd stage would write a phrase under the tab of each step, and you do it like that, right? So you can write a full sentence, or you can do a Mod Podge of all of it, whatever you want to do. Here you can see she wanted to decorate the cover a little bit, and she also felt like coloring that day. So not only did she decorate all of the pictures, we added in little information under each tab talking about how leaves take in CO2 and release oxygen. And so that was really, really neat. She did a good job putting a little a summary under each one of them, and she enjoyed that a lot. Now our lab for this one was why are plants green? And so we pick a leaf and we put it in alcohol. We did 2 different sets with this one. We did an indoor plant and we did an outdoor evergreen. The indoor plant didn't react. It didn't turn the color green. It didn't turn the alcohol green or anything like that. Our evergreen did. So that was really nice that we had 2 options and we could see that one of our options worked and the other one didn't. Again, our labs didn't go on an index card. They came over here to our little science notebook. That is lab 1.2. And here we boiled the leaf, we put it in alcohol, and her hypothesis is that the water would turn green. You can see she didn't feel like writing it that day, but the other day, the results was the indoor plant did nothing, the outdoor evergreen plant made green alcohol. So she writes just different things, and let's go ahead and look at another one. Where I was telling you, here is where we use a vocabulary word. So these are a few things that we have talked about. We know what inhale, exhale, oxygen, carbon dioxide. We know those sorts of things. So respiration, I just had her write down here, look it up in the dictionary, and we found the most appropriate definition for that, and that was the inhaling of oxygen and the exhaling of carbon dioxide. And that really tied in with our lab on that week, that the leaf, which is really cool, I've got it in front of me, so let's just go ahead and show you. That one was actually a part of week 2, where we are watching a leaf, and what you do is you put a leaf in a mason jar, and I'm going to try not to disturb it too much, but you put a leaf in a jar with water and you let it set for at least 4 hours, and then you can see all of these amazing oxygen bubbles coming off of the leaf. This was a success. It worked right away. So this was another indoor plant, but it did work. The lab worked great. And so that was really exciting getting to see how that worked. Again, she did the lab book as part of the lab book in here. And for that particular week, it is a little cutout like this, where we will actually use this for multiple times. So for the first day, we put it on one side, and then the next day we will work with it again. So it's really nice that there is just a quick little lab to go with it every single time. There are different fascinating facts that are sprinkled throughout each lesson. So I believe it's at the end of each lesson, we have this fascinating fact here where it talks about different things. We're going to build this cool like biome diagram here. That will be really fun. Not diagram, diorama, excuse me. But yes, we are really, really enjoying this. Like I said, it's easy, it's quick, it is very customizable as far as what level you want to use it at, and it just has a really nice flow. We are enjoying it. I'm really glad that we waited until this spring to start it. Oh, I forgot to show you day 3. So let me show you day 3 really quick. I kind of got all excited telling you about our lab that actually worked. Okay, day 3, here is where you could make a pocketbook to record your lab that you would put your little index cards in. So whether you're using your index cards or a different notebook, if you don't want to use the notebook, this is how you can make a pocketbook. Then we are checking out our little bean sprout again to see how things are going, and we would glue the picture on the pocket of our index card. We didn't do that, so we just glued it inside our little notebook on the appropriate sheet. Now, there are activities that you can do for day 3. So one is take responsibility for the care of an indoor plant. When should it be watered? How much water will it need? Should it be fertilized? Is it getting the right amount of light? Or you can research an unusual plant and then share this information with someone. Depending on your age, you could even have them do a quick little writing, something like that. I was actually going to have her do a because but so, like the Venus flytrap is an unusual plant because the Venus flytrap is an unusual plant, but something like that, you know, just to build in with that writing. Let's look at lesson 2, day 3. So lesson 2, day 3 is we can choose one or more activities to complete on this day. And this is where I'm seeing where day 3, really, you might not always need it if you want to just do science 2 days a week. So you could continue working on our diorama that I mentioned earlier, or after sunset, you can do a little experiment again where you are looking at the amount of water that might be dropping from a leaf, or you can research a tropical rainforest. So I would say use this as needed or as your age group allows. If you have somebody that's super duper into plants, yeah, do more of this. If you just are wanting to kind of hover across the top of the information, maybe skip this day. It's up to you. But let's quickly jump to a review right here. So this is the lesson 5 review. And day 1, let's review the books that we have made so far. And so you can see that we're going to take out the half book that tells us what plants are like. Day 2, we're going to see what is happening in our labs. So we're going to get our lab books out and we are going to watch the different things that we're doing. So if my beans ever sprout, we will plant them, which is what this little blue thing is right here, because this is saying once they sprout, I need to plant them. But they're not sprouting. I don't know why they're not sprouting. And then day 5 is we have a plant ID book. It says before we head out today, let's make another page for your plant ID book. That is part of lesson 4, day 2. We're going to go to a new place to look for plants, maybe near a river or a stream. And we still get a fascinating fact on our lesson review here. Really, really, really enjoying this. So just really quickly, this is just copy paper. It is nothing fancy. It is double stapled here with cardstock, but all you need is these sheets here and you cut them out. And so you see that we have our vocabulary up at the top with a dotted line. You would cut it out and these are the parts that you would make for whatever your booklet is. It goes really nicely. This is not anything super fancy. It's just copies of what you need, but it's easily used. It's easily reproduced if you need it to be for your different students. But yes, I hope that you have enjoyed this. We are really, really enjoying this, and I'm really hoping they come out with some more. Like I said, right now, the only one that they have is oceans. And that's not anything I need right now, but I would love to see them come out with an animals or things like that, or even a human body. But that's what we've got. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.